Welcome to tonight's episode of the Menopause Map FemPower podcast. And I am your host, Jennifer Seven, and I am very excited to have a special guest here tonight. Let me just introduce her really quickly. I have Dr. Nima Moore here. Hey, Nima, so happy to have you.
Hello.
Oh, yay.
Thank you for
Dr.
having me.
You are so welcome and thrilled to have you here. So, Dr. Nima is a chiropractor, a business owner for over 20 years. She's a speaker. She's a global wellness leader. She's got more than 23 years of experience supporting women's health and confidence. She is also the best-selling author of Confidence Now and is known for blending science and soul to help women navigate burnout, perimenopause, and menopause with clarity and strength. So I am really looking forward to diving into this conversation. And this is all about bringing knowledge and awareness and education to women so that they can live their best life in midlife. But I do want to just mention that this is education only. This is not medical advice. So if you have personal situations, I always recommend that you go and speak to your provider, your doctor, your care, your doctor. So Dr. Nima, let's just dive right in. And before we get into our menopause questions, I would love for you to share your menopause story or the moment you realized women needed more support around what is happening in their bodies, because there is a lot of confusion about what's going on.
Well, I think, for me, just getting to the point where I was knowing I was in perimenopause, knowing that I was approaching menopause. And I, went to my OBGYN expecting, the talk. I thought that there would be some conversation to prepare me for that transition, that there would be a flyer or a pamphlet or something to help me know what to be aware of when it comes to the symptoms, and when I might need to have the conversation about needing more support, whether it's hormone or not. And basically my doctor just said, are you having any symptoms? Well, I think that's one of the issues, is that a lot of women don't know all the symptoms that could possibly be with menopause or perimenopause. And she just kind of said, hey, let me know when you're having any issues, and then we can talk about it. Now, when I went to her, she also said, you are also not a candidate for hormone replacement therapy. So basically, like, don't even think about it, get that out of your head. But that was pretty much all she said. And so as I
Yeah.
started to go through my own transition, now this was some years ago, obviously prior to, what they have come out with in the last year. I just kind of had to just kind of sit and wait and see what I felt. And I really ended up trying to search out alternatives that I could use that would help me with some of the symptoms, hot flashes, mood changes during that phase of life.
Yeah, we know to expect hot flashes, and that's about it. And I think back to when we're young women and we go, I don't know about you, but we had this class in school. It was our health class, and it was like, we're going to find out about, our cycles, our menstrual cycles, and we learned about what makes babies. And it's all very woo back when you're 12 or 13, but then that's it. And then when you get pregnant, you get a lot of information, but that's kind of where it seems to stop. There's
Absolutely.
not a lot of conversation about that uh, postpartum time, although more attention lately. And now there's the perimenopause and then the menopause. And I think we're really trying to get the conversation started because there's just so
Absolutely.
much that's going on. And now we can look back and go, oh, that was probably symptoms of
Mhm,
perimenopause, but
mhm.
doctors didn't treat it. I know for myself, it was like I couldn't sleep. I had terrible sleep, so disrupted for
Mhm,
years and years. And it was basically,
mhm,
here's your sleep pill, take your sleep pill.
mhm.
And there was no conversation about
Right.
hormones. And of course, when you take a sleep medicine and then that makes you groggy and not right the whole, it's just terrible. It doesn't
Yeah.
really solve the problem whatsoever. And many other things now when I look back, and I get kind of mad about it
Right,
because it's like, seriously? And
right.
then to your point of not a candidate for hormone replacement therapy, well, that's because that study came out that said it was bad and we're going to die, we're going to get breast cancer and die, and now that's been debunked. So a lot of backwardness in this whole area. But what I want to talk to with you about, because this is your area, your wheelhouse, is about the joints and the muscles and the bones. Let me just start with some questions. Why do you think so many women start experiencing this widespread body and joint pain during perimenopause and menopause, even if they haven't changed their activity level? It's kind of, this is the area I thought we could focus on tonight.
Yeah, well, because the decrease in estrogen and progesterone, all of the hormones are starting to decrease over time. Those hormones actually play into your ligaments. So even when you're pregnant, those hormones are increased, and a lot of people don't realize that when you're pregnant, you're actually, are hyper flexible at that time because the muscles and the ligaments in particular have to loosen up so the pelvis can spread. So a lot of women don't realize that your hormones, obviously they realize their hormones are fluctuating, but how it plays into the ligaments at that time. So that's why a lot of women, even while they're pregnant, they might have sciatica, things are moving around, everything is very unstable in the pelvis. So as we get to the menopause and perimenopause stage, that is when the hormones start to decrease. And so that causes your ligaments to thicken. So you just don't have as much laxity in those hormones. They start to thicken. You also start to lose collagen, and then you also start to have inflammation. So all of those things together will cause you to not be able to move your joints as well as you used to, going from sitting to standing, you start to have those aches and pains. And it's not just, oh, you're just getting old. It is because of the decrease in the hormones.
Yeah, I've noticed that getting down on the floor and getting back up is harder, and my knees ache. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm just getting old, but I hate it. But never really associating that with the hormonal changes. You just think it's old age, right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's not just old age, right? It's definitely has to do with your decrease in hormones that's causing that, and those ligaments to tighten and thicken, and so it's harder to move around.
Yeah. So because it's harder to move around, then we start to experience more pain.
Absolutely. Yeah, because you can't well, you start to experience more pain because of that inflammation. And that's what's actually causing the pain, is that the increase in inflammation is causing you to have, the pain to go along with it. And that's usually happening in your joint areas.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about that inflammation. So that's increasing because the hormones are decreasing.
Mhm.
So it's just that was a
Exactly.
protective, the hormones were kind of protective
Yes.
that
So,
way.
yeah, the hormones cause are almost anti-inflammatory. So when you have a decrease in those hormones, you become more inflamed. So you have inflammation ongoing. You have lack of sleep. Cortisol is starting to increase. And also there's some studies to show that, your gut biome is playing into this as well. So it kind of is like one thing leading to another. It's one big circle that continues on with the inflammation.
Okay, and cortisol being the stress hormone.
Yes.
So is that something that naturally increases as the other hormones decrease, or is it just life is causing more
Well, it's
cortisol?
life as well as the lack of sleep. When you're
Mm,
not getting as much sleep, which usually happens around that perimenopause stage. And when I say sleep, a lot of people feel like, yes, I can go to sleep, but they're not getting proper sleep. They're not going into REM. And that is what women need at that stage of life. They need to be in deep sleep so that those hormones start to balance out a little bit more, specifically the cortisol levels.
yes, that makes sense. And I know for me, sleep has just been it's just been a struggle, and I would do that waking up at 2 or 3 in the morning. Just I could fall asleep, but then
Right.
like the light switch doesn't turn on, but it's like in my brain the switch turns on and I'm just wide awake. And that the racing thoughts and just like la 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 la
Mhm.
la la, might as
Yeah.
well just get out of bed.
Yeah. And,
I hate
for
that.
women who are busy and have a lot going on or own businesses, we just sometimes think, "Oh, I just have so much going on
Yeah.
right now," and you kinda push it to the side thinking, "Oh, it's just must be that," not realizing like, no, those drops in hormones are actually causing that, and that your hormones are ebbing and flowing throughout the night, and so that 3 or 4 o'clock, that is that increase in cortisol, that is happening, and that is why you're waking up at that time of the night.
Yeah. So it just kind of hits you at a certain time.
Yes, and it's usually at 3, 4 o'clock hour,
Hello.
that it hits at that time, yes.
Yeah. So do you have any suggestions for women to try to manage that process?
Yeah, I mean, I think, during this time, it's really becomes this time of life that you really have to look at your lifestyle. You have to look at what you're eating. You have to look at how much sugar you are eating because the sugars will cause your hormones to fluctuate even more. How late you're eating before you go to bed. All of those things are playing into it, as well as are you exercising? Are you getting enough exercise? Are you moving around enough? Because that also helps to settle your hormones down so that you can get into that deep REM sleep and sleep better throughout the night.
So there are things women can do proactively that don't necessarily require medication or even the hormone replacement therapy. Not saying that's wrong or bad,
Absolutely,
but some things
absolutely.
they can try.
Yeah, because, there everyone's different. That's the thing about this whole process and journey is that every woman is different, and some people may be on hormone replacement for a long time or short time. It just depends on what is gonna be best for you. Some people may not want to even be on it a long time. So, you're always going to want to add those lifestyle changes as a part of your journey, even if you are on medication, because it is just going to help you have best practice as
Mhm.
you go through this transition. You need to be exercising. This journey can be very long. And what I mean by that is like people can have menopause symptoms for 10, 15 years after their cycle ends. So it doesn't just end because your cycle ends. And that's why you really want to add those lifestyle changes to help decrease your stress levels. Usually at this time of life of menopause, there's a lot going on. A lot of women still have children at home or in college, as well as aging parents, and they're still working. And at some of the most they're at that point where they've done a lot of things, so they're now on boards. They're now in, they have room to they've achieved enough success that people are calling on them more. So it's just a real crunch time
Yeah.
at that time of life. And women really have to find ways to create boundaries for their health and wellness.
I think that's so important. It's one of the things that when I work with my clients, it's like, let's prioritize that protein throughout the day. That's going to help regulate the blood sugars and let's minimize screens at night and do a
Exactly.
little decompression. We can't we can't go like we did when we were 25 or 30 or 35. We have to make it. We can still be very vital, but we have to adjust. We just have to
Mhm,
adjust,
mhm,
what's
mhm.
going on. So I think that's so spot on, the self-care and the lifestyle changes. Otherwise, it's going to be like a burnout because everything's going to be all whacked.
Exactly.
To say it in
Exactly.
a very unprofessional way. But
Exactly.
um, let's talk about bone health because this is so important. And I think you more than anyone are so aware of bones and what's going on in the body. So how does menopause affect bone health?
The thing about bone health, and again, with the estrogen decreasing, it actually accelerates your bone reabsorption. So the process where which bone is broken down faster than it's rebuilt. So that puts women at risk for osteoporosis. Bone mineral density drops most rapidly in the first 5 to 7 years in menopause. So you're going to have that decrease in bone density. And this is why exercising and even doing weight training is really, really important at this time, because your body will use what it needs to use. So if you are lifting weights, the body is being called to actually increase those bone deposits, because it's like, oh, she's using her muscle, she's lifting heavy weight, we've got to make sure that bone density is there. So it's really important during this time, that you don't think about not lifting weights or I'm going to bulk up, but it is the time for you to really increase lifting weights and increasing weight bearing exercises.
And what would you say for a woman who really isn't doing anything? Where does she start?
Yeah, I mean, I like to tell women to start with walking 15 minutes. Start with just walking 15 minutes and see if you can increase that to 30 minutes. Go ahead and buy some just very, light 3 pound weights to put next to your bed, or create a workout space. But it's really time for you to start prioritizing your health and searching out and figuring out those places that you can go that will support this part of your journey when it comes to your physical exercise.
And what do you think of weighted vests?
I love weighted vests.
Okay.
I think weighted vests are great, especially when women are out walking. I don't think you should start with the weighted vest. I think it should be something that you feel, after you've been walking for a while, that you want to kind of increase that weight. But I think initially, if you're a beginner starting out and you're like, I haven't been exercising in a year or two, or in the last 6 months, I think you start off light. And then when you feel more confident, like I'm ready to add another challenge, add that weighted vest.
Okay. Because I always like to find where to meet women where they're at,
Mhm.
because just to go out and start weight training may be very intimidating.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, just starting slow and low.
Slow and low. I like that. It's okay to start with the pink weights and
Exactly.
then graduate.
Exactly.
Because we do want
Exactly.
to, because like you were saying, many years. I mean, if you hit menopause, let's say at 60, 55, you may live to 80, 85, and we want to be strong. I mean, that's a long time. Women are living longer, typically longer than men, but we don't want to be frail. We don't want to be in nursing homes with broken hips, and we want to live our best lives as we age. So it's what we do now can really make a difference.
Absolutely.
And I don't think, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think it's ever too late to start.
It's never too late. Some ladies that I've seen on social media, they didn't even start building and weightlifting until they were in their 50s or even a little bit older. So it's never too late. Your body will respond and will start to grow those muscles immediately. And you will see a difference, and sometimes in just a short amount of time.
Yeah, because I do have people that say sometimes, well, I'm 65 or I'm 70, it's too late for me, it's too late. And I'm like, no, no, it's not too late.
Not too late. It's
I
never too
have
late.
a client actually who's in her early 70s, and she goes to CrossFit 4 times a week. And I'm like, wow, I'm so impressed.
Yes, yes.
Yes, and she's strong. It's great. So our bone health is super important. Something that took me aback when I learned this was about frozen shoulder, and that it is a common symptom of menopause. And so why is that a menopause thing? It kind of just kind of blew my mind. I'm like, really?
Yeah. And it's really a combination between reduced movement and the inflammatory stiffness that cause the capsule of the shoulder to stiffen. I'm not sure if they actually have a reason why, other than that estrogen starts to decrease and the capsule around your shoulder actually just begins to tighten. And so sometimes women will have this, what they call frozen shoulder. And it's something that they really do need to seek out help for, so that you can keep that shoulder moving. Sometimes it ends up resulting in people doing actual surgery. And in some cases, They're able to, continuing keeping their shoulder moving, but it's really because the capsule around that shoulder gets increased with inflammation and stiffness, and you're not moving it as much, right? Like we rarely move our shoulders. So it's really important this is another reason why exercise is so important, to be doing on a regular weekly basis.
Okay, so if someone's beginning to feel this tightness, don't wait.
No, don't wait. Seek out a chiropractor, seek out physical therapy, and definitely get it looked at for sure.
Okay, yeah. So I think, well, I'm going to go back to lifestyle and have you've touched on several, but what other practical supportive steps do you feel that women can take right now to protect their joints, improve their mobility, and just feel better in their bodies, especially for inflammation?
Well, I think it definitely starts with, those lifestyle changes that are going to involve decreasing your sugar and increasing your water, because most of us are very much dehydrated on a regular basis, and getting out and moving your body and making that a part of your day. So I know it sounds so simple, because a lot of times when I was looking at some of what they were recommending for menopause other than HRT, this is what they're recommending. It's a lifestyle change. And when you've been living a certain way 50 plus years,
Yeah.
it's really hard to think that it's just something so simple. But I'm going to tell you, one of the biggest things for me was exercise. I'm telling you, it is like medication for me. And what I mean by that is I sleep well, I feel better, my joints, my aches and pains are decreased. And you just think 15 minutes on a bike, 15 minutes dancing, put on, create a playlist of your favorite songs that you think is about 15 minutes, and dance, move your body. Sometimes you can actually burn up more calories dancing than you actually can like walking, because you're doing all kind of crazy hand motions and moving your arms around. So, I really want to just encourage you to get active and to pay attention to your body, and to know that no, you're not crazy, and that things are changing. But by you, making an adjustment to your lifestyle, not packing your schedule super busy sometimes, can really help ease some of these symptoms of menopause and give you a moment to restore and recover.
Yeah, and I always feel that sleep is so foundational, but if you cut some of the sugar out, if you get some exercise, then most likely you're going to sleep better. And that if you're sleeping
Absolutely.
better, everything is easier the next day.
Absolutely.
But you know what else I think too, Dr. Nima, is that we need to tell women that if they that they haven't slept all night and they're exhausted, that they can still do these things, but like just uh, make it a lower capacity day. So maybe we
Absolutely.
don't do 100% of what we thought we were going to do, but we could do 50%.
Absolutely. And this is not a time to like go sign up for a boot camp. Not unless it's I do know one nearby that is doing 55 and up.
Oh,
So I mean,
nice.
if it makes sense, but this is not to like, let me sign up for this hardcore boot camp. Let me start trying to run every day. That's not what your body is asking for at this time. It really needs more of gentle movement and gentle exercise. But also, don't be afraid to reach out to your doctor, because like I said, there is new information, and there might be something that you may need something extra. But in addition to that, you still need to make sure you're focusing on those lifestyle changes.
Yes, I think that's so important. So important. So, Dr. Amy, this has been great. Lots of really good information. I would love for you to share anything else that you think our listeners really need to hear, our women in midlife.
Absolutely. I one of the things that I'm going to recommend is that build your wellness team. And I don't just mean your medical professionals, because you need them. You need your primary care. I want to encourage you to make sure you're going to your doctor's appointments, your mammograms, your pelvic exams. But I want you to think about bringing people on your team, such as a chiropractor, massage therapist, an acupuncturist, maybe some kind of other health alternative professional that can help you through this time as well, because we are getting more information in these areas, and those people need to be a part of your health and wellness team as well. It'll help you to just prolong your life and have life of not just a longer life, but a life of vitality as well.
Absolutely. Oh, I agree with that 100%. And I know you are really big on some of those alternative modalities.
Absolutely.
Yeah, like I think you mentioned red light is you're a big
Absolutely.
fan of that.
I'm
Yeah.
a big fan of red light therapy. I'm going to be having a red light therapy device where you can put your whole body in. I
Mm.
can't wait. We're gonna be doing this with patients starting next week. So it's in the mail. So I can't wait
Oh,
for patients to
exciting.
experience that. But that is going to help with inflammation, and it also helps your cells to regenerate, gives you energy, builds collagen, and just makes you feel good and gives you that glow.
Yeah, fantastic. So, Dr. Nima, tell us if anyone was interested in getting in touch with you. I know you're local here in Virginia, so
Yes.
some of our listeners or viewers may be from all over the world.
Absolutely, and I
But
serve all of them actually.
yeah,
So,
well, tell us a little bit about how
yeah,
someone
so
could get in touch with
if
you.
my website is www doctor, and that's doctor spelled out, drnima.com. So you can definitely reach me there and send me a message and check out some of the things on my website. I do luxury wellness retreats for women about 2 or 3 times a year. So a lot of women come on those to relax and restore and recover and heal. So definitely, if you're interested in those, definitely look at my website. And you can also follow me on social media. I'm on LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook at Dr. Nima DC, and that's DrNeema DC. I'd love to connect with you.
Oh, wonderful. And I'll put this in the show notes as well, so people can find you in the show notes. And gosh, this was great. I really felt it was important that we talk about pain and muscles and joints and frozen shoulder and all of the stuff that's going on with our physical bodies. There's just so much that's happening in midlife. So but again, it comes down to a lot of that lifestyle. We can change, we can make a difference without having to. I mean, it's if you need medication, you need medication. I'm not saying that you don't, but there are things
Absolutely.
we can do and need to do, even, as you mentioned, even if we are using some of those pharmaceuticals, we still need to do those lifestyle changes. And I think we all want to live our very best lives as we age. Yes?
Absolutely. We
Yes.
do.
All right. Well, thank you so much. I
Thank
so
you
enjoyed this
so much.
talk and it was wonderful. So if you want to reach out to Dr. Nima, make sure you check out our show notes. Thank you, Dr.
Absolutely.
Nima. Have
Thank
a
you so
wonderful
much.
evening.
Okay.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everyone.
Bye bye.